Should we do a scoot in? Hello. Hello. Coming to you live. Not really live, but live in the moment of filming. My name is Sophia Mitropoulos. I'm an artist. If you haven't been to my channel before, what are you doing? Welcome. Anyway, I just went for a run and I may look disheveled, so I put on a collared shirt to match my bunny pajama pants so that we can have a real, thoughtful critique of my college art. Is this distracting to you? Clean up the foreground a little. You know those videos where people would have parties pre-COVID times, you know, in the before times, where everybody in the friend group would have a PowerPoint presentation on something ridiculous and they would like give these PowerPoint presentations to each other as if it was school, but obviously it was like an alcohol situation and there was no school involved. I think that's hilarious. None of my friends want to do that kind of thing. So I figured in the context of this channel, I'm gonna do a PowerPoint presentation critique roast of my college art. So let's get started. This PowerPoint presentation isn't great, but you know what? Some of my jokes might be. Oh, I hope that means that I actually do have funny jokes coming up. Let's see. Okay, let's begin critiquing my college art with absolutely no context. Welcome to our slideshow. This is where we're starting today. Freshman year, didn't really. I started my freshman year of college as a spring admit at USC, which meant my fall semester I was at a different school, which was SUNY New Paltz, if you have to know. And I was just taking kind of required classes at that point. And then when I got to USC, my freshman year, I did not take any art classes. I took 3 film critique classes and 1 science class, I think. So no art got made because I didn't consider myself an artist at that point. I was like still in the film world exclusively. Moving on. 2015. So these are by year and not by semester, mostly because I just have them on my phone and this is the best I can do. So they are in chronological order, so I'll try to guess the semester as best as possible. But just so you know, 2015, we're in my sophomore year. I took Intro to Drawing, which was my first class that I chose to take. I did take Design 1 before that, but we didn't really make anything worth critiquing in that class because it was just like stupid design projects. And I'm not a designer. Don't tell anyone I said that if they're looking to hire me, but I'm not. So these drawings, for literally never having learned to draw, I feel like my teacher, Margaret Lazari, love her to death, did a good job in teaching me how to do these things. No faces and very limited hands in these drawings, but considering first attempts, not bad. Should I give these numerical ratings? Is that, I mean, that's not how you critique in school, but it sounds like it would be an easier way to critique in this context. So for these, maybe I'll give them like a 5. So it could change. For these drawings, I'm gonna say good on ya for learning. That's my rating on those. More 2015, we're seeing some development in rendering styles, still some confusing hands here, and still no faces, but definitely gestures are coming together. This was a life drawing class, I believe, so I really enjoyed this because I just loved it and I just kept taking life drawing classes. Continue 2015, we've got our first face. It's rough, but it's not bad. Bodies coming together a little bit more. There's an ink drawing over there on the right. So then I started getting into this anatomy space. So this is 2016. I took drawing 2 and then I took anatomy drawing. And anatomy drawing was only a 1-credit class and we only met once a week. And it was one of the hardest drawing classes I took in my entire time at USC because there was so much homework for that class. But if I ever flip through my sketchbook from that class, the amount of growth in that semester is unreasonable. So these, we're seeing a lot more definition, definitely a little face happening. I would say these are like a pretty impressive growth for only having drawn for like probably a year at this point. Not bad. This piece was a really big turning point for me. This was the first one where I was like, wow, she looks good. I like this. This is what the pose looked like. This is what we're going for. It's funny because so many of these are in charcoal and Conti and I don't use any of those materials anymore because I honestly hate getting dirty. I really hate getting dirty and I feel like they're so messy. I love how they blend and how they shade, but I just would never use them if I had the choice. But my critique of this is I see some spots that could use some blending, like maybe her arms need a little attention and that foot is a little squished, but I'm proud of this one and I'm proud of 2016 Sophia for banging this one out because I remember being really proud then and I'm really proud now, so good on you, past self. Then 2016 was a big year for me sculpturally. This is like I think this is the second half of 2016. This is my spring semester. In my sculpture classes, in my 3D classes, this is where I really started to blossom as an artist. This piece will have forever a special place in my heart. It's called Private Place, Public Space. It is 9 feet tall. It's the first piece I ever welded, and it was supposed to be about like feeling big. I was a competitive weightlifter, and I felt like a lot of my peers were really tiny sorority girls, and so I wanted to kind of capture the feeling of being big but also feminine and what I felt like that felt like. And then with the piece itself, you could stand in the middle of it and like have these beautiful curtains, which were IKEA, because college. They would like drape around you. So this piece was a very big turning point for me. I think my critique of it now is it's a little simplistic, but it was definitely like the first tap into the well of what all of the work to come was. So for that, I will always love this piece. This is called Girl Almighty. It's a ceramic piece that I hand built. I have never had such ridiculous cramps in my hands from coiling that vessel. I painted all of those on with a paintbrush, which I really enjoyed. It's supposed to be like thick like a body and tattooed like a body. As far as outcome, I like it aesthetically. I think it came out really nice. Conceptually, I'm not obsessed with it. But this was the Ceramics 1 class, I think. So we didn't really have a lot of freedom to expand to make whatever we wanted. So I was kind of working within some restraints for that class. But I would say my grade for that piece is good execution, not great concept. But that's okay. But by the way, I'll mention, Stay Aggressive ended up becoming a sticker like 3 years down the line that I sold in my shop, and then also a shirt, I think. So I love that for me, that I thought of that in 2016 and it ended up making me money in 2019. That's cool. This piece was my last piece of the semester for my sculpture class. Each of those letters are 4 feet tall, so I think it's like 20 something feet long. It's made out of cardboard, wood, and pink bubble wrap. I had to buy literally like $90 worth of pink bubble wrap to do this piece. I definitely did not mean to spend that much money on the piece, but I made like 4 letters and I ran out of bubble wrap and I was like, okay, I guess I gotta buy more. There's a picture of me in front of the piece just so you can get some scale. It was huge. I struggled making this piece and I hate the B. I hate the B. And the S needs some work. I'm really proud of that piece. I think it's the biggest piece I've ever made, and I tried my hardest to shove that piece into my tiny car to take it home, and like 3 of the letters broke when I got it home, and I got home to the apartment I was living in and I unloaded it straight into the trash because I was so frustrated with it, and also where was I ever gonna hang it? But that was up for a big like event at the school one night. It's hard for me to critique these pieces. I hate to say it. I thought I was gonna be a really harsh critic, but I feel like a lot of them were really transformative pieces for me, and this one especially because it was the first piece where I like started reclaiming pink. Pink was something where it's like the color is so pushed on girls that I didn't want that, and I rejected that for so much of my life. And then I eventually reached the point where, especially this point in the semester, where I wanted to take pink back. And so I like reclaimed pink, and this was kind of the transformative piece in that reclaim. And I felt like it was sort of addressing some issues I was having with my body image and my challenges to maintain a specific body weight for competitive weightlifting. And so it was definitely like a deeply personal piece. So I feel like I can't really critique it from a totally objective place because it's one of my favorites that I've ever made. So there's that. This piece, all of these pieces that happened, the ceramics, the sculpture, this printmaking class, and then I think I might have taken one other this particular semester. I took only art classes except for one, I think. And the end of that semester was like the most incredible amalgamation of all of my like art concepts coming together all at once for me. So this piece, I do not like how I installed it at all, but the backstory of this piece is I have this embroidered, I think it's embroidered, I don't know what you would call it, pillowcase that my great aunt made, who I never met. She died way before I was born. It's this pillowcase and it's hanging up on my wall, and it used to be up in my attic when I was a kid, and I thought it was so creepy. And then as an adult, I started getting interested in it, and I ended up looking into each of the parts of it, and basically they all came from really interesting places. So I made this series of lino cut prints that I really love aesthetically. I just don't like how I ended up displaying them, and I don't really know how I could fix how I displayed them, but in this picture you can see my class looking at it up on the wall and also what it looks like up on the wall. But basically I did an image creation to go with each of those lines. So that was an interesting piece. Conceptually, you know, compared to some other pieces, conceptually loved it. Rendering style, okay. Some of those pieces deserved a little bit more tender loving care. However, all in all, decent piece, bad presentation. would be my critique of that. And then coming into 2017, which was my final semester at USC, spring semester of my senior year, so my final semester. This piece was an installation. I don't even remember what I called it, but it was an installation in this little hall closet we had in the sculpture studio. And basically I had taken a bunch of these metal rods and bent them, and I propped them up against each other, against the walls. And then I re-draped those same curtains that I used in that earlier sculpture. And I had these like pink string lights. And so basically what happened was you kind of went into, it was sort of a womb-like experience, I guess you could say. But you went under a series of archways that got progressively lower. So first you went under the first archway, which you could probably just duck your head under. Then you went under a little bit lower one where you had to crouch. And then the third one you had to absolutely get down on your hands and knees and crawl. And then once you get to the end, you're like kind of enveloped in this very warm pink space. I don't think at the time I was thinking about a warm pink space, but if you're reading between the lines, that is my current critique. I wouldn't call it a critique, but that is my current impression of what this piece was. Even if you look at the first picture on the left, like, that wasn't my intention, but that was what happened. Okay, I'm gonna say full disclosure, this was not my strongest semester, my last semester. But I did have a big breakthrough during spring break where I was in my Riot Girl class where we had to make a zine about anything we wanted. And for me, I made a zine about women in weightlifting, and it was also during my pink reclaim. And so I made Snatch magazine, which ended up being a huge transformative piece in my life. This one project grew into a 3-year business that I ran. So if you want to see a video about how I turned this school project into a business, which is now closed, but I did turn it into a business, and I just decided to close it because I'm not competitively weightlifting anymore. But if you want to see a video about that, let me know in the comments. It's been on my list, but I'll push it up to the top if it's something that people really want. A couple other notable pieces from this semester. I finished this semester with 2 pink pieces. The first one is this mirror that I had bought on Craigslist, and I vinyl cut these words that say infinitely vast and completely empty. That was sort of addressing the idea that like you can just stare in the mirror forever and like you'll never really get anything out of it. And I love that piece aesthetically. I think I still have it. It's hanging above my computer. That's one of my favorite pieces. I don't think the words really matter that much, but the way it's laid out, the way it's done, I was really inspired by Jenny Holzer in terms of the Futura font, and I was trying to like channel that a little bit, and I think I kind of nailed it with that piece. The last sculpture piece I did was with my dear friend Bonita, who at the time of filming this I'm literally talking to about my YouTube channel. She just found out about it. But we did this pink wall. We called it the Roski pink wall, and we put E pluribus unum, which is the quote on the penny, and it translates to out of many one. So the idea was like that out of many women in the world you are one. I think we conceptually I think we both can agree that this was maybe not our best piece, but it was fun, and we spray painted a stool rose gold, and I still have that stool. I stole it from the school. Don't tell them I said that. It's in New York now, so can't get it back. And the last works that I will critique of my college experience are my slaps. As I was finishing up college, I started to realize that I can't be buying art supplies because I didn't have any money. So I was getting slaps from the US Postal Service, which are the shipping labels, the label 228s, which you can get for free at the post office, and then also you can get them shipped to yourself. These days I would say make sure you're spending money at the post office if you're gonna get them for free also. At the time, I was dealing with the resources I had, which was free, and the post office wasn't as threatened as it is now. But I did so much volume of work in these slaps. I feel like these were a really good way for me to kind of just work through volume. I did a couple of lino cuts on these as well, which came out really nice, and I really liked those, but most of them I did in Prismacolor student grade markers, which ended up fading, and that made me so sad. I put up some of them, but most of them I still have. For a lot of them, I just tried to make the same face where I had these like kind of rotated D's as eyes, and then I just drew a face from there, and it completely changed every time. I would try to draw the same thing over and over, and every time it would change, but I was just starting with the same basis, which was those like blank eyes. I thought I was gonna go into a street art realm, because I was really enjoying that, and I wanted to be doing like spray painting and stuff, but I'm a wuss, and I never followed through on that. But my kind of street art name was going to be Gemini Germ, which was a call to Gemini Gel, which is a printmaking studio in Los Angeles where Richard Serra makes his prints, and my printmaking teacher Xavier, who is Richard Serra's master printer, is there. So that was like one reference. And then Girl Germs is like an OG Riot Girls zine. So it was Gemini Gel and Girl Germs together made Gemini Germ. I'm a Gemini. I still love the name, but she never really came into fruition the same way Sophia Mitropoulos did. And that's cool. So anyway, it's fun to look back on my old art and to see how much growth I really got in school. And I think part of that has to be attributed to how much volume I was making. I was making work, I mean, every day. And I graduated in 2017, May of 2017, and still to this day, in September of 2020, I absolutely attribute my drive and my creative practice, like the actual physical act of creative practice, like working all the time on my creative work, to my time at USC and at Roski, the Roski School of Art. So for that reason, I absolutely don't regret going to college, and I do miss it. My senior year was just the most incredible year, and I kind of hated every other step of the way at USC, but taking all those art classes were fantastic. I thought I was going to be harsher on my past self, but I also kind of feel like I had to meet her where she was at. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't come in here and be like, past Sophia was trash at her work, when actually it's like she was trying her hardest. So do you think I should have been harsher? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. This was a fun video to make. I guess this was my portfolio, my college portfolio, but you saw the growth. Okay, all right. This video is long enough now. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sophia Mitropoulos. I'm an artist. I make videos about art and art-related things on Wednesdays and Fridays. I also have a Patreon, which you can support me in the description below. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you can be here for the next time I post some ridiculous art video. Thanks for watching. Bye! See you in the next one.